Hey, welcome to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and this is the space to be for high vibe people looking to create a beautiful life and business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast, my beautiful friends. I am Leticia Ringe, your host, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. So today, my friends, we are going to dive into the topic of imposter syndrome. This is a topic that has been coming up so much for so many of my clients recently, and actually not even just recently. It's a topic that comes up all of the time. And so today I wanted to record this episode not only for my clients, but also for all of you in this community. I know that as coaches, as healers, as creatives, as business owners, and as human beings, imposter syndrome is something that stops us from moving forward and is something that many of us are suffering from and allowing to stop us from doing the things that we want to be doing. So I really want to dive into this topic today because there's some really interesting aspects to imposter syndrome, and having this awareness will help you to see it more clearly and to be able to make intentional decisions about how you decide to move forward. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And before we dive into that, I just want to give you an update about what's been happening recently. So I was reflecting on last week when I was recording the introduction for this for our podcast, all about how to make sales for the first time in your business. If you didn't check that out, definitely go and check it out. It's a great episode. And honestly, it feels like a lifetime ago. And that's been because I have had such a full week. I have done so many strategy sessions with all of the incredible people in our Mistress Mind, which was so amazing, strategy sessions and going through our holistic business maps that I take everyone in the Mistress Mind through to help them create their own, or it's not even create, it's become aware of their own business strategy, something that's holistic and aligned and unique for them. And so the process of going through that for my clients brings up a lot of resistance because, like for so many of you, they are people who love the flow, they love feminine energy. And so the idea of doing something that feels very masculine, more from like a patriarchal lens, something that's imposed on you, anything about strategy really sets the walls up for the mind. So it was really fascinating to go through these sessions with our incredible Mistress Mind crew and to see that resistance then turn into awareness and understanding and relief. And this is the thing, my beautiful friends, when you allow yourself to make those self-inquiries. So I simply ask questions and get my clients to answer the questions so that they can uncover and reveal what their unique strategy is for them. And it's amazing to see how once we actually allow ourselves to answer these questions, to have this process of self-inquiry, how simple everything becomes, how much more focused, how those distractions, all the millions of things we could be doing in our businesses just start to fall away. And I love that at the end of these strategy sessions I've done, we've had people saying this was just amazing. It like exceeded all of my expectations, and I feel so excited and great and calm and a sense of relief as I move forward. I love that more than anything. And so I just want to remind any of you who are really feeling super resistant whenever you hear the word strategy, I just want to remind you that like goals and the beautiful episode I did 2 episodes ago about goals, it's not the strategy that's the problem, right? It's the way that we perceive strategy, and it's also about the way that we approach strategy. We want to be approaching everything in our life from a lens of self-inquiry, right? It's about turning back within ourselves for the answers, because that's where all of our answers are, even in business. So rather than letting the mind, so the mind loves to use all of these beautiful like things that we believe against ourselves. So for instance, I want to be more flowy. I want to be more in my feminine energy. So then the mind is like, great, I know that you doing this strategy document or whatever it is actually going to support you to have awareness that's going to help you to move forward and expand. So what I'm going to do is make you feel really resistant about it. And also I'm going to spin all of these thoughts that we've had going through our mind in the past and make you feel like the way that you have to approach these tasks is from a place of imprisonment rather than a place of freedom and liberation. So just be careful whenever you're throwing the thing out, right? Whenever you're throwing the thing out itself that you're talking about, that it's actually not just your thoughts about it, the way you perceive it and the way that you approach it that actually needs to be changed rather than the thing itself. Because absolutely everything can be modified in a way that is actually supportive of you. And if you've got people who are saying actually having a plan, having a strategy, having something that's aligned for you is actually of service, and we know that both masculine and feminine energy is what creates, then we want to be open to these things that we've had sort of hijacked through a patriarchal lens, and we want to reclaim them back, right? We want to know that we have the freedom to create whatever we want and to create it in whatever way we want. So I just want to put that out there. If you too feel resistant towards creating a strategy of any kind, just ask yourself whether that's really of service, and ask yourself where that resistance is truly coming from. Can you liberate yourself in some way without needing to, create this identity around, well, I'm just the person who doesn't ever have a strategy, and I just say completely no to that. Can you actually make it work for you? And I bet that the answer is yes. So I've had such a fun week doing all of those strategy sessions. And the other announcement I wanted to share with you is that I've also just made 2 new hires in my team for the 3 roles that I had available. So I'm really, really excited. We have Ella coming back on the team to support us, and I'm so excited for you all to get to know Ella. You're going to all hear from her a lot. So she's going to be supporting me in the business. And then I've also made another hire, and I'm so excited to introduce her later down the line. So team is expanding. Mistress Mind is well underway. We just had our 2 first Mistress Mind calls with the 2 different groups we've got going, and it was incredible. It is amazing because in this space, not only are these people hearing from me and my experience, but each of our Mistress Mind members brings their own experience, brings their own coaching and healing gifts, and it's incredible what happens in these sessions. The way that each person feels seen and heard and connected and validated and energized through these sessions it's just so incredibly valuable. And I'm just so in awe of the space that we co-create together. So that's been happening, and now I'm preparing to kick off our Create Your Beautiful Biz mentorship. So I have Create Your Beautiful Biz, the program, which has the course with the 6 modules and our online community. And now I've decided to offer something new, which is so amazing and kicks off this month, and it's called the mentorship. And this is for those of you who are working on your business and starting to make sales for the first time. I wanted to create a 4-month mentorship that would support you as you start making sales in real time. So you have my support over 4 months in a small group, in a container where you'll be able to have my guidance, but also have the group. And it will be less like a group and more like a mastermind, in that we'll all be able to offer each other support. It is incredible just how much more confident each person feels in these group environments, because you realize that you're not alone. And so I want to tell you about this today before we dive into imposter syndrome, because this is one of the points that I want you to know. You're not alone in the way that you're feeling. Everybody else is feeling this way from time to time as well. And when you can put yourself in spaces where you see that and you realize you're not alone, it is worth everything. It is the difference between you feeling like,
I just don't know what I'm doing. I just can't do this. There must be something wrong with me, versus you seeing that, oh, wow, this is my mind, and I'm validated because I can now see that I'm not alone in this and that there is another way, and I don't need to feel ashamed or guilty about the way that I'm feeling. So that's what group experiences give you, and that's why I am so passionate about providing these group experiences for my community. So if you would love to join us, if you want my support dedicated over 4 months from February, devoted to you in a small group with some other incredible business owners who are making sales for the first time in their business and getting into their selling groove and doing it in a way that is unique to you, that allows you to thrive, that makes you feel good, that's heart-centered and authentic, and you really want to practice this in real time together. Plus, you also want to get enrolled into Create Your Beautiful Biz, my course, and to the online community that you'll have for life, then I want to invite you. Don't miss out on this opportunity. It's the only time I'm going to be running it this year. I'm not sure whether I'll ever run it again. I don't know. It's the first time I'm doing it in this way. But I'm so excited for those of you who are joining us and for you to start making money in your business, because my beautiful friends, you can make money in your business. You can make money in your business, and you can make great money in your business. You just got to learn some of the skills. You got to get into the flow. You've got to get into the momentum. You need to see that the mind limits that it places on you are not your own. It's common. There's a thread through all of us. We have a mind, and they all have the same fears. So if that speaks to you, I invite you to go to leticiaringe.com/starting, and you will see the 2 options. You can either enroll into my self-study, Create Your Beautiful Biz program, and get access to the online community, or you can join us in my 4-month mentorship. It's called Create Your Beautiful Biz, the mentorship, and I would love to see you there. You also will have a one-to-one session with me in the mentorship. So we'll kick off the mentorship. Our group call is starting on the 17th of February, and so we'll have our one-to-one session as soon as possible before that, where we can dive into your offer, your messaging, and really just answer all of the questions that you've got around all of those things, so that you can then go out and be ready to be in real time practicing selling and having this beautiful support around you. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send me an email and I will answer those questions for you. But I do encourage you to get in contact as soon as possible, because we're limiting these numbers to a small group so that we can really be intimate together and just feel really comfortable and safe together. Okay, everybody, so now let's go into imposter syndrome. So because this is something that was coming up from many different people in my life and many of my clients, I decided I'd spend a little bit of time really thinking about this topic and really exploring it. And so before I got on to record today, I had a couple of points that I wanted to chat with you all about. And that's what I'm going to take you through today. And I actually realized that imposter syndrome is such an interesting concept. So first of all, what is imposter syndrome? So imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're an imposter. You feel like you are doing something wrong. You shouldn't be where you are. And the way it shows up in business is we think I'm not good enough to be sharing my service or my product. I shouldn't be a business owner. I'm not good enough to be a business owner. It shows up in so many different ways. It can also show up if you're in a networking situation, or maybe you're invited to speak at an event and you feel like, wow, why did these people ask me? I'm not really good enough. And so you feel like you are an imposter in some way. Now, of course, feeling like an imposter isn't an emotion. Feeling like an imposter, feeling like an imposter to me will feel different to the next person. But we all know what it feels like to feel like you're an imposter. And so I was exploring that. Well, what does that actually mean? And what I believe it means is that you feel like you don't belong. Right? So if we think of imposter syndrome as really being about this syndrome around not belonging, that actually becomes something that shows up in all across our life, doesn't it? feeling like we don't belong is at the root of, it's at the root and behind so many of the decisions we make, including people pleasing, including like showing up with a mask, pretending we're someone other than we're not. It can show up in taking actions that we're not proud of, right? Like doing things just to fit in. So when we feel like we're an imposter, what we're actually feeling is like we don't belong. And so I want you to think about what the actual emotion is that's created for you when you feel like an imposter or when you feel like you don't belong. And then I want you to think about what thoughts actually create that feeling of being an imposter, of not belonging. And they will be unique to each of us. Some of these thoughts might be, I'm not good enough to be here, or even that I need to fit in, I shouldn't be here, I'm doing something wrong. And so these are some of the main ones, but there are many other ways that this thought might show up for you. But as you can see, what's behind these thoughts is actually it's like such an innate desire within all of us to fit in, right? This is part of our mind. I know we've spoken about this so many times on the podcast. To your mind, as a survival tactic, not even a tactic, as a necessity, the mind sees that you must belong, and belonging to the mind means fit in with the environment around you. If you do not fit in with the environment around you, your mind believes that you will die, that's it, you're going to die. And so to the mind, at all costs, it is going to send you messages and signals through thoughts that then create these feelings of shame and guilt and overwhelm and whatever else comes up for you to support you to not make decisions that will make you stand out from the crowd, right? So it wants to protect you. Again, it's a positive intention. It just doesn't manifest in a positive way. But it's from imposter syndrome is rooted in this desire to fit in. And so one of the things we've got to remind ourselves is that our goal is not to fit in ever in the society that we live in right now. Sure, there may be situations in where we need to protect ourselves and it may jeopardize our safety in some way, but those situations are so few and far between. And if you're in that situation, you will know. So unless you're in a situation where you know that you absolutely must fit in terms of your survival, I want you to second guess that thought all the time, that I need to fit in. I want you to second guess the desire, the relief that it creates, and instead start practicing this, that my goal is never to fit in. My goal is to show up as me, is to be me, and to offer my unique take on life, on business, on coaching, on healing, on creativity, on like whatever your service is, graphic design, website building, photography, life coaching, rapid transformational therapy, like whatever it is for you, the goal is not to fit in. The goal is to offer your unique take on it, right? And I know that feels comfortable. We'll talk more uncomfortable. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Some other ways that imposter syndrome will show up is when you feel like you just need to get one more training and then you'll feel good enough to show up as a coach or to show up as a business owner or to sell or to do XYZ, whatever it is in your life that you're saying, well, if I just do this, then I'll feel better about it. It's not true. It will still be there. It'll just show up in another way. Other ways this can show up is I'll just change myself in some way. Maybe it's I'll just lose weight. Maybe it's I'll just learn to speak better, or I'll just wear some nicer clothes, or I'll just do it tomorrow and then I won't feel this way. It could show up as I'll just get the permission, maybe through a certification or through my parents or through my partner or through my friends, and then I won't feel this way. Hands up if anyone has had any of these thoughts before. Now, really, it's not a conscious process a lot of the time. Like, this isn't the logical, conscious thought that we're thinking of. But if we really drill it down, if we ask, why do we want to do another training? Why am I asking my parents, or when I ask my parents for permission to start my business or to take a training or whatever it is you're doing, what am I really seeking from them? Is it their approval? When I ask my friends to look at my website or for their feedback on something that I'm creating, what's it for? Why are you asking for that? Is it because you're trying to seek permission? When you post on Instagram or social media or any of the platforms out there, are you really posting from a place of service, from a place of inspiration, or are you posting from a place of permission? Yeah, from approval, of wanting to fit in. So there's two things here. What is the intention behind what I'm doing? There's a difference between signing up for a training because you're excited and inspired and signing up for a training because you think this will be it. I'll feel more qualified after I do this training. There's also and then I won't feel this way. So there's this expectation that once I do this thing, then I won't feel the imposter syndrome anymore. And as I explained to my Mistress Mind crew this week, unfortunately, it does continue to be there. So we really have like two different things we need to do here. The first is we want to be aware of what is actually creating this feeling of imposter syndrome within us. We want to be aware of what thoughts support it. We want to be aware of how it feels. We want to be aware of why it shows up. We want to be aware of the root belief that's behind it, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then we also want to be aware of how we actually manage it, because the goal is not to never feel imposter syndrome, right? It's like the goal is not to not feel resistance, not to not feel overwhelmed, not to not ever worry, not to ever not feel stressed. There's a lot of double negatives here. Like, the goal is not to not feel all of these things that we describe as bad. The goal is to be aware that this is what I'm feeling and to actually feel it, to experience it, to allow it to be there and to hold space for it. But through that process of holding space, you don't then make decisions and take actions and fuel it with more thoughts that give it momentum and that keep you in that state. What we want it to be is, oh, right now I'm feeling imposter syndrome. Oh, isn't that interesting? I'm just going to sit here and experience what it feels like to be in imposter syndrome. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to try and be somewhere else. I'm not going to resist it. I'm going to allow it. And through that process of allowing, what that's going to do is it's going to alleviate the resistance and it creates in the way it feels. But the second thing it's going to do is it's actually going to create space for something else to be felt and experienced, because it's not going to be amplified anymore. So you want to allow yourself to live with the imposter syndrome. You want it to allow to rear its head whenever it wants to. And you want to allow yourself to not shame yourself by allowing it to be there. Like, because with all of our emotions, with anything that we feel, we don't want to judge them as good or bad. We just want to be like, oh, that's so interesting that it's there, and then feel it. You don't even need to know why it's there. Sometimes there's a message to be had, but other times, what if we just feel it, right? What if we just feel it and move on? Because we create an identity around it. You know, like even imposter syndrome, we're creating an identity around that. So let's now dial it back. What is behind this root belief? So first of all, we have the survival aspect where the mind has this desire and requirement that it is absolutely necessary to save your life for you to fit in with all the people around you. So we've got that. But then we also have this root belief that's behind almost every single thought that brings us to a place of shame or guilt. And that is, I'm not good enough, right? So these two, like I need to fit in and I'm not good enough, they can kind of go hand in hand. But there's also I'm not good enough and I need to fit in also stand alone. The motivation behind the I need to fit in is, as I said, it's this survival. And then the I'm not good enough is this conditioning that we learn in society. That, you don't want to be too big for your boots. You don't want to be too much. And so they're connected, but they're also interdependent, right? Like our mind hasn't evolved to be able to understand that that not fitting in isn't a threat to our survival. And by the same token, we also have all of this conditioning socially and culturally around us all that we can't see ourselves as good enough. Like you can't love yourself. You can't see yourself as worthy, and that there's something wrong with that. So we have these two things, right? We have the I need to fit in and I'm not good enough. We have the social conditioning and the survival instinct within us. They're connected and also interdependent. So you really want to look at, well, what do I want to believe instead of I'm not good enough and I need to fit in? And it's not about just starting to think positively, right? And then never feeling imposter syndrome. We want to be able to feel it when it raises its head. And we also then want to know how we can intentionally shift it. So the more positive thought for you is going to be different to all of us. What you actually want to be the goal here is a line of thinking that allows you to move forward, right? That allows you to show up in these spaces, that allows you to feel like, oh, I can talk and share my opinion, or I could post that post, or I can sell, or I can accept that invitation to that speaking event, or I can show up at that networking thing, or whatever it's blocking you from doing. You want to ask yourself, well, what would actually help me to move forward? What feelings would help me to move forward? And what thoughts would help me to move forward? I have a couple of suggestions, but that's actually going to be a personal thing for all of you. Some really beautiful thoughts that would be great to think, but might feel like a stretch when you're in that moment are, I am good enough. This is where I'm supposed to be. I love this thought. I have a right to be here too. I am supported. I really love this one about support because what if we actually just expected that in every situation we go into, that the people there are supporting us? Like when we show up on Instagram, oh, these people are here to support me, right? Like they've decided to follow you for a reason. They're there to support you. What if when we send an email out to our list, we just assume that everybody there reading our emails supports us? Because they do. They wouldn't be there if they didn't. What if we assumed that our friends and our family and our peers and that our coaches and healers and all the people in the spaces we're in, all these people want to support us? Now, I know that your mind might say, well, not everyone's going to support you. And okay, not everyone will support you. But what's the point of thinking that? What's the point of just being realistic, just being practical? Again, I really feel it's because we're not willing to feel disappointed when someone doesn't support us. But it's okay. We can deal with that. If someone doesn't want to support us, we can feel disappointed and we can remind ourselves that it's okay. I have plenty of other supporters out there and everybody's entitled to their own opinion and it doesn't have any reflection on me. I'm still me and I am good enough. I'm worthy, I'm whole, and I fit in just because I'm here. That's what makes me fit in. So this is the kind of line of thinking I want you to go down. What would help you to shift that energy? What do you actually want to believe? And what thinking would actually help you move forward in those moments? Perhaps it's just, I accept that right now I'm feeling like an imposter, and that's okay. I love and accept myself for feeling this way. Maybe that's all it is. See everyone, see your clients, see the world, see your friends, your family, see everyone as being on your team. Imposter syndrome shows us something that we want. It shows us something that we admire. It shows us something that we embody. And if we can just shift that to recognize that we don't feel good enough, we don't feel like we have a right to be there because of our conditioning and this fear in our mind that we've all inherited through the function of the mind. But it's actually a gift because it's showing you that you desire something. And so if we can lean into that desire, allow the imposter syndrome to be there, allow yourself to feel it, even talk about it, let people know, I feel like an imposter here. I gotta say, is that something that you feel as well? Talk to your friends, your peers about it. Let's not hide it in shame in the back of the room, in the back of our mind. Let's call it out. Let's call it for what it is and recognize that if you're experiencing it, then you know every other human is experiencing it too. So let's call it out and talk about it together. Let's release its resistance, its hold, and let's allow you to move forward. Let's allow you to move forward to the real desire, which is doing the thing, embodying the thing that you're being called to embody. Know that you do not need anything else to show up and to feel better about yourself now. There's no training, there's no certification, there's no book, there's no permission slip, there's no person, there's no change. There's nothing that can make you feel better about yourself other than the beautiful power of self-acceptance. You have everything you need. You're exactly where you are. You're meant to be here. You're meant to be the coach, the healer, the creative, the business owner, the parent, the sister, the friend, the employer, the employee, the team member. You're meant to be exactly where you are right now. You're not an imposter. You're meant to be there. Everyone's here to support you. You're here to support you. So let's all talk about imposter syndrome and bring that out of the cave and put it into the light. Allow it to be there. Hold space for it. And then allow yourself to choose again. There you go, my beautiful friends. Those are my thoughts for today on imposter syndrome. I hope that this is really helpful and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Let us know what thoughts really work for you when you feel like you're in imposter syndrome. If there's any other practices that support you, please take a screenshot of you listening to this episode, share it on Instagram at Leticia Ringe and share with us your tips. Or come and join us in the Holistic Business community. If you're not a member yet, go to leticiaringe.com/community and share a post sharing your top tips for imposter syndrome too. And once again, if you'd love to join me in my 4-month sales mentorship for all of you incredible business owners who are starting to make sales in your business for the first time, head to leticiaringe.com/starting and follow the prompts to find all the details for the mentorship. If you have any questions, get in touch. I'm so excited for all of you to keep moving forward. You're in the right place and everyone is supporting you. Bye.
Hey, if you're ready to create your very own purpose-driven business too, I invite you to check out my online program, Create Your Beautiful Biz. You'll learn how to create a business that allows you to make your difference and thrive. Just head over to www.leticiaringe.com/CYBB. Let's make creating a business beautiful. I'll see you there.